Waves crash against a jagged rock, 20 miles from nowhere, where a lone lighthouse stands against the Atlantic's fury. Its beam, a lifeline for ships, goes dark. 3 men, keepers of that light, vanish without a trace, leaving only an untouched meal, a toppled chair, and whispers of a storm that never was. This is no tale of fiction. In December 1900, the Flannan Isles became a grave for a mystery that still haunts the sea. Welcome to Darker Unveiled, where shadows swallow the truth. Over the next 30 minutes, a true story of loss, fear, and the unknown will unfold, pulling listeners into a void where answers drown. Subscribe now, turn down the lights, and step onto an island where men disappear. But beware, some secrets cling like salt to the skin. The Flannan Isles, a cluster of bleak rocks off Scotland's Outer Hebrides, are no place for the living. Treeless, battered by storms, they rise like broken teeth from a sea that never rests. Moor, the largest, hosts a single lighthouse, built in 1899 to guide ships through the Atlantic's wrath. Its keepers, James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur, were seasoned men, hardened by isolation. Ducat, 43, a father of 4, led with quiet resolve. Marshall, 40, was steady, his logbooks neat. MacArthur, 37, a substitute sent for a sick colleague, carried a temper but knew the sea. Their job was simple: keep the light burning no matter the cost. For weeks at a time, they lived in the tower's cramped rooms, surrounded by 200-foot cliffs and a horizon that swallowed hope. Life on Moor was a test. The keepers cooked on a coal stove, wound the lighthouse clock, and polished the lens daily. Storms could trap them for days, waves smashing the cliffs, spray reaching the tower's peak. Supplies came by boat, weather permitting, but the island offered no harbor. Crates were winched up a sheer drop. Local fishermen avoided the isles, whispering of curses, of voices in the wind that weren't human. The keepers laughed off such tales, but the weight of solitude pressed hard. Letters home spoke of restless nights, of dreams where the sea called their names. December 15, 1900, a steamer named Arctur sailed past Moor. Its crew stared in shock. The lighthouse was dark, its beam extinguished. For a lighthouse to fail was unthinkable. Ships depended on it to avoid the reefs. The Arctur sounded its horn, but no figures appeared on the cliffs. Word reached the mainland and alarm spread. The Northern Lighthouse Board dispatched the Hesperus, a relief ship, but storms delayed it. For 10 days the island sat silent, its secret locked in stone. On December 26th, the Hesperus anchored off Moor. Captain Jim Harvey blew the ship's whistle, fired a flare. Nothing. Joseph Moore, a relief keeper, rowed ashore, his boots crunching on the jetty. The silence was wrong, heavy, like the air before a storm. The lighthouse door stood ajar, swaying in the wind. Inside, the scene froze Moore's blood. The kitchen table held a cold meal, mutton and potatoes untouched. A chair lay toppled on the floor. The clock on the wall had stopped, its hands frozen at midnight. The beds were empty, the oil lamps dry. No sign of the men, no note, no struggle, just absence. Moore searched the tower, his footsteps echoing. The lighthouse log, kept with military precision, lay open. Entries up to December 13th were routine: wind speeds, barometer readings. Then, on December 14th, the tone shifted. Marshall wrote of a storm like none before, waves shaking the island, Ducat praying, MacArthur gone quiet. December 15th, the final entry: storm ended, sea calm, God is over all. Moore's hands trembled as he read. No storm was recorded that week. The mainland reported clear skies. What had these men seen? What silenced their pens? Outside, the island offered no answers. The jetty's ropes were tangled, one winch twisted as if struck by force. The keepers' oilskins and boots were gone, suggesting they'd left in haste. A 100-foot cliff where the men often worked showed no blood, no bodies. The sea was empty, the horizon a taunt. Moore and the Hesperus crew combed the island for days, finding only gulls and waves. The men were gone, swallowed by something or someone that left no trace. The Northern Lighthouse Board's investigation began, but the facts defied reason. The stopped clock, the toppled chair, the untouched meal pointed to a sudden exit. But why? The logbook's storm entries baffled. No weather records matched them. The keepers were experienced. They wouldn't abandon their post or risk the cliffs in a gale. Yet they'd left all three without a word. The board concluded a freak wave had swept them away while checking the jetty, but doubts lingered. Waves that high were rare, and the jetty showed no major damage. The logbook's words, "God is over all," hung like a riddle no one could solve. Theories multiplied like shadows on the cliffs. A rogue wave, taller than any recorded, could have struck without warning, dragging the men into the deep. Isolation might have broken them. Months alone could twist the mind, turn comrades into enemies. Some whispered of murder, MacArthur's temper, Duckett's stress, a fight gone deadly. Perhaps they jumped, driven mad by the island's relentless drone. But the logbook's storm, the calm sea that followed, those didn't fit. The men weren't reckless. Something had called them out, something they couldn't ignore. Then came the darker tales. Fishermen spoke of the Flannan Isles curse, of lights in the sea that weren't ships, of voices luring men to the cliffs. Old stories told of kelpies, sea spirits that drowned the unwary, or worse, something older, tied to the rocks themselves. In 1899, during the lighthouse's construction, workers swore they heard moans in the fog, saw shapes in the waves. The logbook's storm, was it wind, or something that stared back from the water? By 1901, sailors claimed to see flickers in the lighthouse beam, as if the keepers' souls were trapped in the lens. The world seized the mystery. Wilfred Wilson Gibson's 1912 poem Flannan Isle painted a haunted picture. 3 men alive on Flannan Isle who thought on 3 men dead. Newspapers spun tales of pirates, foreign spies, even sea monsters. The lack of bodies fueled every theory, from rational to wild. In 1920, a sailor swore he saw 3 figures on Isle Moore's cliffs, waving, only to vanish when he blinked. By the 1970s, UFO hunters claimed the keepers were abducted, citing strange lights reported near the Isles in 1900. Each story added a layer, but none closed the wound. Science offers little comfort. Rogue waves, though rare, can reach 100 feet, and the Flannan Isles cliffs are no match. Psychological strain could explain the logbook's frenzy, but not the men's complete absence. The board's report, dry and official, left gaps no logic could fill. The lighthouse still stands, automated now, its beam cutting the dark. Keepers who worked there after 1900 spoke of unease, of footsteps in empty rooms, of dreams where the sea whispered names. The Flannan Isles remain a place sailors skirt, where the wind carries more than salt. Here's the twist that chills the bone. In 2018, a fishing boat near Isle Moore reported a light in the water, not the lighthouse's beam, but a pulsing glow, moving against the current. The crew filmed it, swore it wasn't a buoy or reflection. Days later, their radio crackled with static, and a voice, faint, broken, said, "God is over all." The tape exists, buried in a maritime archive, unstudied. Was it a prank, a glitch, or something else calling from the deep? The Flannan Isles keep their secret, but one truth burns clear. James Duckett, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur never left. Their shadows linger, watching from the cliffs, waiting for the next storm. What stole those men? A wave, a madness, or a force no logbook could name? Drop thoughts in the comments, and if the dark beckons, subscribe to Darker Unveiled. Hit the bell for more mysteries that cut like sea spray. But next time a lighthouse beam sweeps the night, don't look too long. Something might look back.